Her name was Holly Ludwig, and I was convinced that she was the most beautiful girl in the 7th grade class. She had long blonde hair and a smile that would just make you melt. She was a card-carrying member of the popular crowd. And we were on friendly terms, but it was really more on a professional level, let's say. We might talk about, the math problem of the day or the English assignment. But, when it came to inside jokes of the popular kids, I wasn't part of that. As for me, I was a pretty studious 7th grader. That's another way of saying I was pretty much a nerd. And I realized that my academic prowess wasn't going to be the way to Holly's heart. And I looked around at my 7th grade class, and I saw that the girls were really after 2 types of guys, either heavy metalheads or athletes. And I thought to myself, it's going to take me a long time to grow my hair that long and to develop a real appreciation for Metallica and Megadeth. So I thought that maybe sports were my way to Holly's heart. But what I needed was an opportunity to demonstrate my athletic prowess to her. And that opportunity arose in the spring of my 7th grade year. So my class every year participated in something called the Foreign Language Festival. And the Foreign Language Festival was an annual competition where you competed against students of other schools and taking tests in your foreign language and translating passages and exciting things like that. So we were lucky that year we had made it to the state level at the University of Kentucky. Go Pats! So one spring day, we went down to the University of Kentucky. We competed that morning in different foreign language competitions. And that afternoon, we're hanging out there on the quad, waiting for the bus to come pick us up to go back to our hometown. And it was at that moment that I saw my opportunity. So here's the situation. Holly is sitting there on a retaining wall and with her back to me. And her legs are over the edge of that retaining wall, and she's talking to a few of her friends, her popular friends, which are next to her. And at the base of her feet is a big concrete sidewalk. And behind her is a big grassy expanse, several feet up above the concrete sidewalk below. And I'm there with my friends hanging out there, and here's what I pictured myself doing. What I was going to do is I was going to run up behind Holly. Unbeknownst to her, I would jump over her head, land in front of her, and she would be so impressed by this gymnastic feat. Then I would slowly turn around, and I would walk up to her, and I would suavely invite her to Lloyd's roller rink that upcoming weekend. Now, Lloyd's was the place where kids hung out at that age, and if you invited someone to Lloyd's and they went along with you, folks really knew that something was up. So I told my friends there about my plan, and they were really excited. They knew that this was going to be a really amazing feat or a complete disaster. But whatever happened, they wanted to see what was coming. So what I did is I knelt down on the ground there like a runner just about to do a 100-meter dash. And as if a starting gun shot off into the air, I burst forward. And I'm gaining speed, and I'm running faster and faster. And my heart's beating, boom, ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. But I'm trying not to be too loud to alert Holly to my upcoming tour de force. So I'm gaining speed, and I'm going faster and faster. And when I'm a few feet from Holly, I launch myself up into the air, just like an Olympic jumper. Now the next several seconds, they passed as if they were in slow motion. Because just as I was jumping in the air, something caught Holly's attention. Maybe it was a bee that was buzzing around her head. Or maybe it was a reflection of sunlight in a window nearby. But whatever it was sufficient to merit a change of position. So just as I was jumping up into the air, she decided she was going to stand up and turn around. Now, I don't know if you've seen those old Bugs Bunny cartoons with the Roadrunner and the Coyote. And the Roadrunner's running along and makes a quick turn, and the Coyote finds himself running off the edge of a cliff. And he blinks a couple times in midair, and he looks down, and he realizes the fate that's about to befall him. I was the Coyote in this case. So just as she stands up and turns around, the first and only thing she saw was my body hurtling towards her. So I slam into her, and she lets out a big scream. And we both fall to the ground. Now, fortunately for me, she cushioned my fall. Unfortunately for her, the concrete wasn't much of a cushion for her. So we both slam into the ground. And after a few seconds, I come to my senses. And I look at the havoc that I had wreaked. I look up and I see Holly. She's there and she's bawling. She's got bloody elbows and bloody knees. And a crowd had gathered around us. Their mouths were agape, wondering what had just happened. What could I say? After a few seconds, they gathered Holly and they started taking her away so they could attend to her wounds. And I'm following along, apologizing profusely. But they were looking back at me with disgust. They had no interest in my pathetic atonement. So soon after that, Holly got up into the school bus. She was accompanied by these friends. And she was sitting up there in the front of the school bus with some friends and some teachers that were attending to her wounds. And meanwhile, I have to get up on the bus and sit in the back of the bus by myself for the 2-hour drive back home as I thought about the horrible events that had just taken place. Now, over the next several weeks, Holly's wounds healed. And memories of this horrible event, that faded. Now that elusive date, it never happened. I had decided that I was never going to, again, try to impress Holly Ludwig. I realized that dramatic entrances, they just weren't my thing. Thank you.